Hello, my name is Leslie, and I'm going to be interviewing my father. Say hi.
Hi there. Hi, Leslie.
Okay, first of all, I'm going to start off easy and ask you some more questions. So, where were you born?
I was born in St. Luke's Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri in 1963. St. Luke's Hospital is one of the older hospitals in the city of St. Louis. It's one of the major hospitals, better hospitals. And it's something I'm kind of proud of because it was like a really important hospital in this city. And the city is in the state of Missouri.
Okay. What's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal is a snow leopard. And the reason I like snow leopards is one, they're rare, they're mysterious, and they're also very secretive. And nobody can tame them, nobody can control them. And so if I could be any animal, I would want to be a snow leopard. I also like the fact that most leopards are yellow or black, and the snow leopard is white, and very different from all the other leopards. And it also lives up in the mountains, in the snow, not in jungles where it's hot and humid.
Okay. Fascinating. Okay. Who has been your favorite pet we've ever had?
Wow, that's a tough one. My first pet that I was kind of close to was kind of a mutt dog named Sparky, and she was my childhood pet, the dog that was with me when I was a little child, all the way through becoming a teenager, and made a very significant impact. But my favorite pet would have been my Cocker Spaniel, the dog that I picked out and bought, Katie. Her full name was Katie Douglas Made of Moon Dust. And she was with me for about 14 years and was with me when I lived by myself for many years, and was very smart, a good constant companion, and also very loving.
Okay, now we're going to dive deeper. If you could change anything that has occurred in your life, what would it be and why?
If I could change anything in my life, well, that's an interesting question. I was talking to my brother about this today, and it used to be there were things I wanted to change in my life, but I've come to accept most of the things that have happened in my life. But if there is anything I could change in my life, it would be this, because I've often thought, what would I do if I could go back in time and talk to myself as an 18-year-old? First thing I'd do is I'd punch myself and say, what were you thinking? And what I would tell myself is this: the only person who can make you happy is yourself. You have to find happiness within yourself. And what happened when I was 18, I really, really wanted to have girlfriends in my life. I wanted to have lady friends in my life. And I think I kind of ruined my early life thinking that the only way I could feel important, or the only way I could feel complete, was having a girlfriend or a significant other. So if I could change anything in my life, I would focus more on my own career. I'd focus more on my own development and who I was, and less thinking that I needed a woman to complete my life. That's a big one.
All right. Tell us a story about someone who has had a significant impact on your life.
Well, the person who's had the most significant impact on my life is your mother, Cheryl. And going back to the first thing I just said a moment ago, was I had met a string of terrible women, probably like it went on for 9 years. And I remember saying once to a friend of mine who was a counselor, what's going on? I keep meeting these terrible women. And she said, well, what are you getting out of it? And so I thought about it, and I realized I was getting something out of it, and I stopped trying to ride that emotional roller coaster of up and downs. And when I met Mom, she changed everything because she was level. She got me to be more emotionally grounded. She got me to be more sure of myself, more confident of myself. And I stopped chasing I stopped chasing bad women. That was a big one. And the other thing was, I started to become happier with my life and the choices I had made rather than the choices I didn't make. And it really came about because of Mom.
Perfect. What was the happiest moment of your life and the saddest?
Wow. I think the happiest moment of my life, well, there would be a couple of happy, but it's hard to pick one. One, obviously, the day I got married, but the second one would be the day I got to adopt my children, and I felt like my family was complete. Without a doubt, we didn't have the birth of children, but bringing children and new life into your family is probably the biggest joy and celebration you could have ever, really. Actually, that's probably just even more important than getting married. And then the saddest day of my life, well, before I met Mom, the saddest day of my life was probably I was going to get married to another woman when I was younger, just a little older than you. And it wasn't meant to be, and that was really, really hard on me and impacted me for years. And Mom knows this. I've had nightmares for about 25 years that I'd wake up and I'd be at the altar, and then your bride leaves you and you're abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really tough nightmare. That didn't happen, but it's kind of like that. And maybe the other one would be saying goodbye to Katie. That was something I don't talk about. That was really hard. As you notice, we don't have any dogs as pets, and that's how devastating the loss of her was for me.
I'm sorry to hear that. How has your life been different from what you'd imagined?
Wow, it's been better than I imagined. When I was younger, I wanted to be a doctor, a medical doctor, and I wanted to help and heal people, and I was on that way. The other thing was I wanted to be a professional writer. And I imagined myself living in big houses and making lots of money. And the way my life is better than it is today is because today I'm more content and happy with my choices. And I realize that my life is more beautiful, not because I didn't have big homes and an important job, but I got to spend my life with people I care about and love. And I think that's the way my life has been better. And I was talking to my brother about that again today. He kept saying, he goes, on his tombstone, he wanted the words, "My life should have been different." And I said, "Dan, that's not true. Everyone thinks their life should have been different, but the truth is, your life turns out just the way it's supposed to be. You just have to enjoy it and have to make a decision that you're okay with it."
Okay. Is there something about me that you've always wanted to know but never have asked?
Yeah, I think what I want to know, are you happy you found this family? That's probably the biggest thing I want to know and worry about, because I realize you didn't have a lot of choices, and you didn't have a lot of control over the beginning of your life, and you didn't have choices about how you landed here. And I think what I want to know is, if you had to do it all over again, would you still pick us?
Well, it's actually a good question. I feel like past me would have said no, just because I didn't know about my family, so I would have wanted to go back and been with them, because they were my first one, I guess. But after getting to know Sonia, and then hear my siblings' stories about what they went through, and then what my birth father was like and all this, it's definitely changed my perspective on everything, and I'm more grateful that I was adopted, because I feel in more ways Jasmine and Tony had it worse than I did, and I've heard their struggles, and I've heard what they went through, and I was the lucky one, and it only makes me sad that I wish you would have been able to adopt them too, if that was an option, because I would have wanted to save them from what they had experienced. Alex and I had our struggles, but I feel they had it worse than Alex and I did.
When we adopted you and Alex, they asked us, because we had to sign a sheet of paper to what I'm about to say, is if your birth mother had any other children and they went up for adoption, would we take them? And we said we would.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
But you never said my birth father.
Yeah. I would love to have, if we could have helped them, your stepchildren, step brothers and sisters, not step, but half brothers and sisters if we could have helped them. We didn't even know about them.
I know.
But yes.
I would have, it would have been, I think about it too, because Jasmine wanted to adopt us. That would have been kind of fun to grow up with my sister, but it would have not been the same because I would have wanted, like, a parent. Like, it would have been fun to have Jasmine as, like, my main, like, source and stuff. And it kind of makes me sad, though, because I've always wanted a sister growing up, because it was always would have been fun. And I know there was asked, I was like, oh, could you adopt someone else, because, like, I'm one of their siblings? But then now having, like, so many more siblings, like, more than over, like, I think I have 13 or 14 in total, is so much. Like, I'm just kind of, like, you know, and, like right now, Jasmine and them are texting me, and they're like, oh, what do you guys want for Christmas? And they're like, oh, by the way, we celebrate Christmas, like, morning. We have a big breakfast. And then we open gifts together. And I was like, oh, that works for us because we open gifts, like, Christmas Eve on my birthday and stuff. So I was like, that works out for me and stuff. But it's just kind of, like, crazy because I have to buy, like, way more gifts than I anticipated. Like, that's a lot more. Like, 14 siblings, and then plus all the parents, and then, like, you guys and Alex. Like, I'm probably gonna buy, like plus Israel's family, too, because I'm spending Christmas with them, too. So I'm like, great. Like, I have to decide, like, who I'm gonna spend Christmas with now, like, Christmas Day with. Because I'm supposed to spend it with my family, but then Israel, I'm probably gonna spend Christmas with his family, too, and open gifts with them. So I'm just like, it's kind of a lot. So it's just so weird, because I just feel like I got, like, way more family than I ever wanted all in one go. Like, it's nice, but it's just, like, a lot.
How has it felt for you this last year to find all of these people in your life?
Well, I don't like Sonia, so she doesn't count. But it's been fun to, like, get to know all my siblings personally. Like, that's why I don't like how Sonia is, like, so biased and stuff about stuff. She's like, oh, I don't know why you give them a chance and not me. But it's like, they never did anything to me. Like, if anything, they lost more than I did, because I didn't even know that any of them existed. And so, like, I remember when I first met my brother, like, Tony and stuff, like, he was so emotional when he saw us. And he's, like, so different because he's so hard on the outside. But then, like, when he heard everything about us, like, he just was bawling his eyes out. And it made me realize that, like again, like, I didn't, like, I'm not going to hold a grudge against my siblings, not spend time with them, because at the end of the day, they had it worse than I did because they lost us. And, my brother, Alex didn't even remember them. Like, that's how bad it was. Like, none of us, like, knew about each other. So it's been fun. Like, I love my siblings. I love, like, hanging out with them. Like, I'm really close to Mercedes. I'm really close with Jasmine. Like, we're always planning stuff. Like, I'm close with my nephews, which is really weird because I didn't know I was an aunt. And then even my brother Steven has a kid too, and it's just so weird to me. I'm just like, I have, like, 3 nephews. Like, that's so weird to me. Like, I'm not, like, it's just so, like, so technically I was an aunt when I was, like, 10.
Wow.
Like, I was 10 and I was an aunt and I had no idea. Like, that's just so weird to me. But I love my family. Like, they're all really cool. Like, as in terms of my birth parents, like, I don't know. It's, like, whatever. I don't really, like, care. Like, especially about Sonia. I just don't like her. And then in terms of Tony, like, I can see the change he's had, especially with losing all his kids and, like, the boys not wanting to, like, get to know him. It's just kind of Jazz and I at this point wanting to get to know him. But it just kind of makes me sad because, like, you obviously want to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially if you see they've changed. Like, it'd be one thing, like, I've given Sonia a shot, but she hasn't shown any signs of change. Like, she's a really jealous person. I don't like that. But then with Tony, like he gives you space and he lets you, like, come to him, which is nice. So I'm giving him more of a shot. I just don't really talk to him that much. But if he calls, like, I'll pick up, like, you know. But I don't know. My birth parents or whatever, but my siblings are probably, like, my best thing I gained from all of it. Like, I think I just got more best friends, which is nice because, like, if I ever have problems, like, I go to, like, specific people in the family for that now. And it's nice because if I have girl, like, problems, like, I can just go to my sisters, which wasn't something I've had before.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's just super different. Like, it's just, like, a lot to take in, but I'm really excited and, like, they're all excited for my birthday. It was kind of nice because they're like, oh, it's your first birthday with us. Like how last year was for my birthday with Sonia and them. They're all excited and they, like, went all out for it. So then this year they're all, like, trying to, like, planning me a whole party and stuff, and like kind of, cause like, oh, it's your first birthday. It's like you were first born, you know. And I was like, oh, cause I've never celebrated a birthday with me before, so I was like, okay. So I'm kind of excited, but it's just kind of fun now.
Can you believe you're going to be 19?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but it just sucks. It's my 19th birthday, my first time celebrating with like my siblings. Like, it's kind of sad, but I don't know. It's more fun.
It makes Mom and I happy that you found all these people, because what we wanted was to have more people in the world who loved you. And we feel that by introducing you to all these people, now you've got more people who love you no matter what, unconditionally. And that was important to us.
No, yeah, it's really nice, kids. Like, I feel more invited. And it's like my siblings' mom, like all of them, like, it's very nice because she loves me too. And like, she like looks at me as to a daughter too, because she had been there when I was first born too. And so like when she met me, she was like crying hysterically. She was like, oh my gosh, like, you guys are so grown now. Like, I remember you guys, especially Leslie, because I was there when you were first born. Like, I picked you from the hospital and everything. So it's just so weird. Like, it's just like all these people knew about me before, and I had no idea about them. Like,
I had no idea.
Like, it's just so weird to think that, like, one day I was there and one day I wasn't, and now I'm back. Like, I know it's hard for some people, like my siblings, like my, it's like one of, like, my siblings, they're like brother Matthew's kind of a hard exterior, and like he doesn't think of Alex and I as siblings at all, which I kind of get, because like he's like their mom's remarried like husband's kid. But like he even tells my siblings, like Jasmine and them, they're like, oh, like she's not even your sister, you know, like she left for a while. And I was like, I couldn't control that, you know, like I'm still a sibling. It's just like, it wasn't my fault I was removed. So he's really hard on us, on Alex and I, and like he doesn't ever invite us to stuff when it, like, I get it with his stuff, but even his baby shower, like I'm close with his baby mama and stuff. Like, her and I are actually really close, like we talk a lot, so it kind of hurt when I wasn't invited to stuff. But he says like we don't count as family, and like we're supposed to take family pictures in November. And then he got mad at, like, their mom, and he was like, why are they invited? And he's like, they're not even family. And it sucks, because it's like, I want to be, like, happy about it, but it's just hard when, like, someone else, like, doesn't see us as family. But it's like, we were there first. Like, he came way after I was even in, like, he came after, like, way after.
You think it could be some jealousy?
Yeah, I think some of it is, because, I don't know, but it just sucks, because it's like, he doesn't even want some family pictures. Like, I'm just like, but we are family, you know,
Yeah.
Like, that's like all my siblings right there.
And in some ways, you and Alex become the superstars, because you're like these people who've returned and have stories and were gone.
Yeah.
And everyone wondered about them, and now they're back, and everyone wants to know you and find out what your stories were.
No, yeah, the first time we, like, all met everyone, like, he didn't even come up to us. He just looked at us. And, like, even his baby mama came up to us before he did. Like, he didn't even say hi or anything. He just kept looking at us and walked away. But then she was nice. And, like, her and I have gotten closer the more events we go to. Her and I talk more and more. So she's really nice, but he's just kind of whatever with it. But, I don't know.
Do you think some of it could also be culturally, because you got to grow up middle class and go to Palm Desert High School and stuff?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's just him being, like, not wanting to let us in, which sucks. But for a while, I guess he didn't think of, like, Steven, my other brother, as anything. But then now, like, he always is, like, best friends with him now. So I guess it just took a few years. But it's kind of like, you know, you don't got to exclude me from family pictures, you know. Anyways, what was it like where you grew up? What was your childhood like?
So I grew up, if you can imagine what Coachella is like, now move it to the Midwest, and now instead of brown and mountains, you have lots of farm fields and it's green. And we had two big rivers, the Missouri and the Mississippi, where they came together. So what was it like when I grew up? It was a tough neighborhood. The police wouldn't even come in. So, but what was it like? So this was it. Like in the summer, after breakfast, you'd go out, and then you'd come back home at around 9 o'clock at night. And you'd just be out at people's houses up and down the block. You'd go to different families' houses, and everyone just watched after each other. And we'd go on adventures, and it was kind of a magical time. that's how things were in the 60s and 70s growing up. You just kind of, there was lots of freedoms. People weren't afraid of, kids disappearing or bad people getting you or anything like that. Growing up in the schools was hard. It was really, really hard. I dealt with a lot of prejudices, and I could never figure out why there were so many prejudices I felt against me, but a lot of it had to do because I was poor. And like my teachers and counselors always said, oh, you'll never go to college. You're not supposed to go to college. You're supposed to work at a factory. I was put into lower classes, and I disliked teachers. I remember one teacher grabbed my ear and grabbed my arm and twisted it, and all I could do was just take it. And, it was tough. It was really hard. We also grew up in an area where there weren't gangs, but there were certainly gangs of bullies that would run the streets, and they could just run after kids and grab them and knock them into the ground. And you had to deal with that going back and forth to school. You never knew what could happen. So growing up in school, I hated it. I just hated school. And once I could drive and go to college and get a job, I thought I'd have more freedom. And in some senses I did, because I could start planning my escape out of that poverty. Growing up, it was a simpler time. It was different than this. We didn't have phones like you have. And each house had one TV, and there were 3 channels. That's true. Even in the big cities, there was only 3 channels. And you could only watch them one at a time. They didn't even have VCRs or anything like that. There were no tapes that you could take programs on. But in some senses, it was also a great time to be alive. But don't ask me now. I think you guys had it so much better.
Well, how would you like to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as someone who was kind to others, but I don't know that I will always be remembered that way. I struggle with that, I'm not the person I want to be. I'd like to be remembered as being kinder than I am, more generous than I am, and someone who didn't judge others but accepted them for who they are. I'd like to be remembered by my children as a good father. That's important to me. I don't know that I've always been a good father. I try, but it's difficult. Sometimes you don't know the right thing to do. By my students, I think I probably was successful. All of my students remember me as someone special. I've got hundreds and hundreds of students who write me throughout the month telling me how I changed their life. And I think, how could I be successful with my own children? My students. And it's so hard to be, you want to be that way with your children and the other people in your life. It's difficult. I'd like to be remembered as a kind person.
All right. How would you be able to rank the following in importance? Family, career, love life.
Family first. What do you mean by love life?
Like if you, let's just say you're not married right now.
Oh, when I was younger, so that's the difference between being younger and older. When I was younger, it was so important to have someone in your life.
No, I'd say your relationship with mom now. What would you say?
Well, it would be family, then mom. So it'd be family overall first, but that includes the kids, then mom. And career was always at the bottom. Career was never the most important thing for me. And that had to do culturally growing up. That was always at the bottom.
Okay. On a personal level, which pizza topping do you relate to the most?
Great question. Bacon.
Why?
Well, bacon brings the salt, it brings the flavor. It's also got the grease, and the grease gets into the pizza, because I used to make pizzas. The grease can take the pizza sauce from bacon. It can take the pizza sauce and the cheese, and it's the only thing that can blend those two flavors together. And then when you put bacon on it, so that's me. I'm a bacon. I blend things and bring things together.
Okay. Next question. Discuss an accomplishment or event, formal or informal, which marked your transition from childhood to adulthood within your culture, community, or family?
Well, the first one would be becoming an Eagle Scout. I was 13 years old, and that was the first time in my life where I had accomplished something that was significant and was hard to do. Only 1 out of 100 scouts got it, and very few people in the nation could ever become an Eagle Scout. And I had to organize the community, I had to organize businesses. It was very hard to do. So that was the first time I saw that I could do something. The second one was getting my my college degree. Once I had my college degree, I was the first person in my family to ever get a college degree. And I was the first person who had a choice. I didn't have to work in a factory. I could do other things. And so I went into teaching. And then the other one would be marrying mom. That happened like 9 years later.
Okay. Do you believe you can live a meaningful life without your friends and family?
No, I do not. Man or women cannot live as an island by themselves. We're evolved to live with other people, and we're social creatures. We would die without friends and loved ones.
Okay. What are your dreams for me?
For you, that's a great question. Well, actually, my dream has nothing to do with you finding a career. My dream for you is to find someone you love and have a family, and to feel good about your choices and to feel like you have choices. That's my dream. So whether you become a teacher or you become something else, that's not important, but long as you have choices. So I hope you go to college and get your college degree, not because I think it makes you a better person, but it gives you a key to more freedom. And then I want you to be able to feel like there's someone in your life who loves you, who you can begin a family with and make the choices and make the home you've always wanted to make.
Okay. In your opinion, is the world a better place or a terrible place without religion?
It's a better place. And the reason I say that, unless you have a moral and ethical code to live by, the world descends into chaos. And we always need a higher power. It's the first thing they teach alcoholics and drug addicts. The only way to beat addiction is to acknowledge something greater than yourself. And religion becomes that. It becomes that thing that is greater than yourself, something that you have to answer to, something you have to be responsible to. When you think that your choices begin and end with you, that's not good. There was something I saw on TV the other day. This woman said, I teach all of my children that they should live the life they want to live the way they want to live it. And I thought that's a terrible thing, because if you have people in your life, you have to make compromises. You can't just always have it the way you want. I understood what she said, but you have to answer to other people. And I think religion helps us understand that. If you have to not do certain things because you think you have to answer to God, that's one thing. But it also makes it easier when you're married. Like, I can't go out and cheat on mom. That would be wrong. I can't go cheat on my family. That would be wrong. But without some type of religious beliefs, I can do whatever I want. And that would be wrong.
Okay. Who do you admire most and why?
Who do I admire most in life?
And why?
Oh, gee Louise. Who do I admire most in life? There's so many people I admire, but if I had to pick one, I'd say I admire Mom.
Why?
Why? Yeah, that's a great question. I'll tell you why. Because she sets a goal. She then creates a path and a plan to make that goal happen. And she sticks with it until it happens. She's very disciplined, which is something I'm not. I'm not very disciplined. And that's what she's done for me, is to helped me become more focused and more disciplined. And that was something I needed. It changed my life.
Okay. What significant impact has your family had on you?
It's made me a better human being. I used to think only about myself. And once I had children, I could no longer just do what I wanted. You know, there's a lot of things I wanted to do, and I just had to stop. I became a better teacher. You know, I'd be teaching a child, and they wouldn't do their homework, and I wanted to yell at them and discipline them. And sometimes I wanted to say something that was probably not so nice, but I'd look at them, and like if I'm looking at a little boy or girl, I'd see that they had a mother who loved them, just like I love you. And I thought, I wonder what their mother would say if I were to yell at that child. How would they feel? And that stopped me. That stopped me dead in my tracks. Because I wouldn't want anyone yelling at you if they were a teacher. I wouldn't want them mistreating you. It would break my heart. So I became a better person.
Okay. Who is the messiest family member in the house?
Alex.
Why do you say that?
Well, I have spent the last 3 days scrubbing his bathroom tub because he left it so filthy. I have spent the last 2 weeks working on the walls and the floors because they're filled with neglect where he just didn't pick up after himself. And then there was black mold all over the bathroom walls that had been taken off. So that's why, because he just would leave stuff. And I would say to him, what are you doing? Another thing, like the car, you know, so he's buying the car, the Civic when he was. I said, all you have to do is keep it clean. And I'd come in, and it would be filthy. And we'd have big fights. And I'd make him take it to the wash machine, the car wash, and clean it. And he'd have to spend $60 to $90. And then a week later, it's filthy again. And he just would do it over and over and over. It just, a knucklehead would never listen.
Okay. Do we love our family members for who they are, or do we love them despite who they are?
Oh, we love them despite who they are, without a doubt. There's two things there. One, that's your job. And number two, you want them to love you for who you are. None of us are perfect. So we love them for who they are. No, we love them despite who they are. Like if you did something really bad, I would be behind you all the way.
Okay. What's something silly I did as a kid?
You'd pick up that horse and start running around the house and hit people with it. And some of the fun, silly stuff you used to do was you'd put on shows. And I loved your humor, and you'd plan these little shows, and we'd go into your room, and you'd put the shows on. That was really nice.
Okay. What's one thing that made me cry a lot when I was little?
Not getting your way. My very first time I got to spend time with you was at Carl's Jr. And Alex ordered a bucket of something. And you ordered something different, but when you saw his bucket, you wanted his bucket. You wanted a bucket. And you started screaming and yelling. And we sat in Carl's Jr. And finally we went to the car and you kept screaming and yelling. And so I had to stop, go into Carl's Jr. and say, look, can you sell me a bucket? And they go, no, you have to buy the whole thing. I said, look, I have a little girl out there in the car and she's having a meltdown. If I don't get that bucket to her now, I don't think I can get her home. And so I brought the bucket out. You stopped crying because you got what you wanted. And then you put the bucket on your head and smiled. And I'd say that was always it. If you didn't get what you wanted, you really had a meltdown.
Okay. What's one bad habit you don't want me to get rid of?
A bad habit I don't want you to get rid of. I got to be careful because I don't want you to just go crazy with it, but you're a little mischievous. And I think that mischievousness, that you have actually can be endearing, but it can also be maddening.
Why?
Well, it's maddening because sometimes you want what you like. Going back, you want what you want, and you get kind of sneaky and stuff like that, and then it turns into something not good. But you can be you can do little silly things, and just the bad habit is if you want to do something, you just do it. But I think that's also a strength because it's perseverance. You'll still do it, but it's also a bad habit because it can drive people crazy.
Okay. How would you describe this pandemic?
Tragic. Makes me sad. Makes me sad to see people dying needlessly. Makes me sad to see people being so stupid that they won't get their vaccines or wear their mask or take precautions. And it makes me sad that people would rather make it something political rather than something medical. And I also am sad to see all of our freedoms go. And I think we're losing our freedoms because people are not talking to each other and instead are just getting political with each other. And the result is we're losing freedoms. But mostly it makes me sad to see people needlessly die.
Okay, next question. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
If I could have only what?
One meal for the rest of your life.
Lobster.
Ew.
It is the perfect food because you can grill it, you can saute it with butter, which is actually the perfect way to eat it. And it's got very low calories, it's good for your heart, good for your brain, and tastes delicious.
If you were a superhero, what powers would you have?
Probably the power to fly. That would be be able to go from one place to the next place unhindered. I think that's the most important one.
Okay. What would you sing at karaoke night?
Lola by the Kinks.
Do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm an introvert, but I have to perform like an extrovert. Because of being a teacher, because of being a leader, people expect you to be friendly and get along. But Mom will tell you that before I met her, I didn't talk to people, I didn't mingle with people, and I didn't go out with people. And there was one day, we were going on a date, and there was another person around. And we're just driving along, and I'm quiet, and they go, "What's wrong?" And I go, "I haven't heard another human voice in a week." It was so funny. I just hadn't heard anyone talk.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm reading it. What's one thing you'd like to change about yourself?
What's one thing strange about myself?
You like to change about yourself?
What's one thing I'd like to change about myself? I wish I was more patient. And had more self-discipline. One of the things that happens is sometimes if I go out with a group of friends and I have maybe just one too many drinks, which would be like one, and people say, "Oh, let's just go do this, let's just go do that." Instead of saying, "No, I need to go home," I would just say, "Sure," and just continue the party. And that's when you get into trouble, you get into a car accident, or you say something to someone you shouldn't, or you do something you regret.
Okay. Why did you tell Mom to change her hair from brunette to blonde?
So, truth of the matter is, Mom can have a harsh look. And with her, the dark hair compounded the harshness of the look. And so I think sometimes she came across looking more stern and maybe more unpleasant than she needed to look. And so I said, "Why don't you just lighten the tone of your hair?" And when she did that, she came across she looked less stern and less, I don't want to say mean, but less serious.
Okay. Looking back on your life, what have you done that has given you the most satisfaction?
That would be easy. Just adopting you and Alex. Without a doubt, that's unquestionably, that is probably the thing that makes me the most proud. I'm proud of both of you. I'm proud of your accomplishments, and I'm also proud that both my children managed to not get into drugs, alcohol, get pregnant. They're both in college, and they're both decent, good people that I am proud of and like.
Okay. What's your story?
My story? So what do you mean by that?
Like, how would you sum up your story of your life?
I was a poor boy who had lots of dreams, but most of his dreams were about being someone different. And through the course of my travels, I learned that I was okay, that I was an okay person. There was nothing wrong with me. Most of my life, I thought there was something wrong with me. And now I've decided I'm an okay person. There's nothing terrible about me. And, I started out growing up in Missouri, like I said, in a poor neighborhood. I went to a college. I took a job working with students. Then I became a principal of a middle school in the inner city of an all-black school. And I became a member of the black community vicariously through that position. And then I became a college professor when I came out here, and I worked with students in the Barrio Dream Homes. And from there, then I had children, but I was always trying to become something I wasn't. And now I want to just become something I am.
All right. Last question. What are you most thankful for?
I'm most thankful for the gifts that God gave me. I'm truly thankful. Well, that's probably something I am thankful for. All my life, I didn't talk about this in the interview, but all my life I've heard the voice of God. And I realize not everyone hears that. People think you're crazy if you say that. But I've always, since I was a small child, been aware of the presence of God in my life. It's been real. It's like I can hear the voice, I can feel his touch. And I'm most thankful to have been loved by something bigger than myself, what I think is the creator of the universe, that I have a purpose. And that purpose then extends to that I was chosen by him to be your and Alex's father. And I have to tell you, that is the only tribute I need. If you want to put anything on my tombstone, just put, he loved being the father of his two children. He thought that was the biggest accomplishment of his life, that I got to be a part of your life. Not someone else, but me. I was chosen to be your father. And that's the thing I'm the most proud of. That's my story.
Okay. One last question. What advice would you give me about being a parent?
Remember, it's not about you. It's not about you. When you hear them screaming, yelling, when you hear them and they're wanting something and you want your peace and you want your time, that your road is no longer a solo road. You're no longer traveling it by yourself. And a lot of times your friends are going to tell you you need me time, but the truth of the matter is your child needs mom time. And that's going to be the biggest job of your life, being a mother.
Okay. Thank you so much for letting me interview you.
Did we make the 42 minutes?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I tried to stretch it out for you.